The strangest things found in backyards. First, a couple who had just bought a house in California got quite a scare when they discovered a 1960s anti-nuclear bunker in their backyard. The structure, built during the Cold War, was about 4 meters underground and served as a shelter against possible nuclear attacks. Second, in 2018, a Los Angeles resident was preparing to install solar panels at home when, while digging near the pipes, he found a huge stash of illegal substances worth more than $175,000. He even thought about keeping the discovery, but in the end, he chose to notify the authorities. Third, in another curious case, some children who were digging holes while playing in the backyard made an unbelievable discovery. Instead of getting scolded, the parents actually had a reason to celebrate. The kids found the upper part of a Ferrari. When the digging continued, the vehicle was fully unearthed. Later, the police discovered that the car had been stolen years earlier by the previous owner of the house. The most impressive discoveries in history. First, a group of men taking a lunch break in the mountains of Norway noticed something unusual on the ground. When they got closer, they realized it was an old, rusty sword. At first, they thought it was just scrap metal, but soon discovered it was an authentic Viking sword over 1,100 years old. Second, in 2013, an ancient library was found containing 84,000 secret manuscripts, some dating back more than 1,000 years. They were stored on massive shelves, about 60 meters long and 10 meters high, inside the Sakya Monastery in Tibet. Third, after 13 years of excavations, a group of archaeologists finally managed to bring to light a gigantic Egyptian statue that had been submerged underwater. The investigation began in 2001, when a researcher started studying a lost city beneath the sea. By 2013, the team had successfully raised the colossal sculpture, which was over 1,200 years old. Fourth, researchers in Germany discovered a bronze sword in perfect condition, preserved for more than 3,000 years inside an ancient tomb. The most expensive mistakes in history. First, the painting Ecce Homo, which depicted the face of Christ, was restored by an 81-year-old Spanish woman named Cecilia Jimenez. Without being a professional, she tried to fix the artwork on her own, but ended up destroying it, turning it into one of the most disastrous and famous restorations in the world. Second, the SEG Plaza building in Shanghai began shaking on its own in 2021, terrifying residents and forcing the government to evacuate the entire structure. Since then, the $100 million skyscraper has remained closed, while costly investigations try to determine the cause of the problem. Third, Ron Wayne, co-founder of Apple, sold his 10% share of the company for just $800 in 1976. Had he waited until 2022, his stake would have been worth over $300 billion, making it one of the most disastrous financial decisions in history. Fourth, the Takis Blue Heat chips became a huge problem for the Barcel brand. Hundreds of people claimed to feel sick after eating them, leading to a wave of controversy and complaints. The company was forced to recall the product and faced massive financial losses. Characters who had to die because their actors passed away. First, the legendary Doc Hudson from Cars didn't return for the sequel because his voice actor Paul Newman passed away in 2008. Pixar chose not to replace him and instead worked the character's absence into the story. Second, Mrs. Krabappel from The Simpsons had to leave the show after the passing of her voice actress Marsha Wallace in 2013. Rather than recasting her, the producers chose to honor the character in a special tribute episode. Third, Luke Perry, who played Fred Andrews in Riverdale, passed away after suffering a stroke. The series paid a heartfelt tribute to him at the beginning of the 4th season. Fourth, Mrs. Wolowitz from The Big Bang Theory was also written out of the show. Actress Carol Ann Suzy, known for her distinctive voice, passed away in 2014, and the creators decided to retire the character respectfully as a tribute. Fifth, Chadwick Boseman, the beloved Black Panther, battled illness for years before his death. In Wakanda Forever, the character T'Challa also dies, a deeply emotional tribute to both the actor and his legacy. Genius inventions that should exist all over the world. First, this bench looks ordinary, but its backrest can be rotated to either side, allowing you to adjust it for maximum comfort. Second, this streetlight projects the pattern of the sidewalk onto the ground when there's heavy snow. helping pedestrians find their way even during blizzards. Third, in Australia, they installed nets on drains and sewers to prevent trash from reaching rivers. This simple solution helps significantly reduce water pollution. Fourth, this unique panel was designed so that blind people can read the landscape in Braille and feel its shapes through touch. Fifth, this park features double swings that let parents and children swing together, a simple idea that beautifully connects generations. Sixth, in Spain, engineers created a technology that generates energy from the wind produced by cars passing on highways, a creative and sustainable way to harness traffic movement. Seventh, this bridge was built specifically for crabs to safely cross during their annual migration without disrupting traffic, a simple yet brilliant idea. Genius inventions that should exist all over the world. First, this clothing brand had a brilliant idea. They sew labels onto small pieces of separate fabric instead of directly on the clothes, preventing itching and discomfort. Second, in the Czech Republic, some pharmacies have machines that allow people to refill shampoo and liquid soap bottles, reducing plastic waste and helping the environment. Third, these trash bins were designed for drivers who don't want to stop their cars. Just aim well and toss the garbage from a distance. Fourth, this public water fountain is 3-in-1. It has a drinking spout for people, a space to fill bottles, and even a lower section for pets. Fifth, in Australia, the government created a tax statement model that clearly shows citizens how their money is being spent, promoting transparency and public trust. Sixth, these sandboxes were adapted so that children with special needs can also play safely and comfortably. Seventh, this modern phone booth was designed for people who want to have private cell phone conversations without background noise. Eighth, this elevator has foot-operated buttons, perfect for when your hands are full. Photos taken moments before tragedy. First, this is the last photo of Steve Irwin, the famous crocodile hunter. He appears calm, gazing at the sea, unaware that the stingray just below him would soon strike his heart, ending his life in a tragic accident. Second, this 1948 photo shows a woman covering her face in shame outside her home, beside a sign reading that she was selling her children. Pregnant with her fifth baby and with her husband unemployed, she felt she had no other choice. Third, this is also the last image of President John F. Kennedy, taken during a parade in Dallas. He was smiling beside his wife in the open car, unaware that just seconds later he would be fatally shot. The governor of Texas, seated in front, was wounded but survived. Fourth, politician Robert Bath shocked the world when during a live interview he pulled a gun from a bag and took his own life on live television. Fifth, here we see the last known photo of rapper Tupac Shakur, taken moments before he was fatally shot while sitting in his car. The picture has since become one of the most iconic and tragic images in music history. The strangest things ever found in backyards. First, a man ended up finding nothing less than a dinosaur bone estimated to be around 250 million years old. A real piece of prehistory buried right beneath his feet. Second, can you imagine finding a prehistoric animal in your backyard? That's exactly what happened to two friends in Michigan. While doing some renovations, they noticed a strange-looking rock, but as they got closer, they realized it wasn't a rock at all. It was a massive bone. When paleontologists arrived, they confirmed it was a fragment of a mastodon vertebra, a creature that lived over 13,000 years ago, a true relic worth a fortune. Third, in New Zealand, a man was simply cleaning his backyard when he came across something completely unusual, a giant, perfectly preserved claw. After experts analyzed it, they discovered it belonged to a prehistoric bird called the upland moa, which lived about 3,500 years ago, a true fossil hidden in the garden. Fourth, another man came across something even more terrifying, human bones buried in his backyard. After examination, it was confirmed that they were over 1,000 years old. Actors who were never the same after a role. First, Heath Ledger fully immersed himself in the role of the Joker in The Dark Knight. He isolated himself for weeks to study the character and ended up suffering from insomnia and depression. Many believe that his deep immersion in the role contributed to his emotional collapse. Second, Bob Hoskins, in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, spent so much time acting alongside imaginary characters that he began experiencing real hallucinations. Even months after filming, he said he would still see Roger Rabbit around his house. Third, Bill Skarsgård, after portraying Pennywise, admitted to having constant nightmares and moments where he thought he saw the clown in real life. The role affected him deeply. Fourth, Janet Leigh was so traumatized after the iconic shower scene in Psycho that she developed a fear of showering alone. From then on, she only did so with the curtain open and while keeping an eye on the door. Fifth, Shia LaBeouf took realism to the extreme while filming Fury. He cut his own face and even pulled out a tooth to get into character, leaving both physical and emotional scars. The funniest Photoshop fails you'll ever see. First, a woman appeared with an absurdly long neck due to a bad crop, and of course the internet didn't let it slide. Second, a car ad showed a fully furnished living room inside the vehicle, sofa and all, as if it were a sci-fi movie promo. Third, the model in a sportswear ad appeared with massive distorted arms thanks to a grotesque editing mistake. Fourth, a boy wanted to show off his dream car, but the poorly done Photoshop made the vehicle look like it was floating in the air. Fifth, in a photo for a children's piano, the reflection in the mirror was staring directly at the camera, giving the whole thing a creepy horror movie vibe. Sixth, an Amazon ad showed a t-shirt that looked like it was being worn by two different models at the same time. Seventh, even online products joined the list, like an Amazon scarf that looked hand-drawn and a swimming pool that seemed straight out of a video game. Eighth, there was also a makeup ad featuring octopus women, more nightmare fuel than beauty inspiration. Photos taken at the perfect moment. First, a diver took a selfie underwater, and just as he snapped the photo, a shark appeared right behind him, even seeming to smile for the camera. Second, a man noticed that the color of a tree trunk perfectly matched his shirt, so he took a photo and created the perfect illusion of a tree man. Third, a woman photographed her cat drinking water, and the reflection in the glass lined up perfectly with the cat's nose, creating a hilarious effect. Fourth, something similar happened with two police officers, but this time, a horse appeared smiling in the background, making the photo absolutely hilarious. Fifth, a woman was searching the house for her dog until she realized he was lying on a blanket with a bear print, blending in perfectly. Sixth, a gymnast was photographed mid-performance while all the judges were distracted looking down, a moment as perfect as it was ironic. Seventh, a man took a selfie, and right behind him, his dog looked like it was balancing on his shoulder, the kind of illusion that only happens once. Eighth, and this building appears to have various staircases, but it's just the sun's shadow. The most expensive mistakes in history. First, the walkie-talkie building in London cost $1.8 billion, but its curved glass design reflected sunlight so intensely that it melted parts of cars and even cracked the pavement. The situation became so infamous that a reporter managed to fry an egg on the sidewalk. The solution was to cover the windows with a special reflective film. Second, in 2000, Netflix founder Reed Hastings tried to sell the company to Blockbuster for $50 million, but the offer was laughed off. 10 years later, Blockbuster went bankrupt, and Netflix became worth over $150 billion. Third, in 2016, the launch of the Galaxy Note 7 turned into a massive disaster for Samsung. Several units started catching fire and exploding due to faulty batteries, forcing a global recall and causing losses of over $17 billion. Fourth, the Jeddah Tower, planned to be the first building in the world to reach 1 kilometer in height, had billions invested in Saudi Arabia. However, after corruption scandals and design flaws, construction was halted, and to this day, the skyscraper remains unfinished. Celebrities who ruined their own careers. First, Taylor Lautner, the eternal Jacob from Twilight, saw his career plummet after the saga ended. His following films, like Abduction and Tracers, were both critical and box office failures. Even starring alongside Adam Sandler in The Ridiculous Six couldn't save him. The result was disastrous. Since then, he's only landed minor TV roles and hasn't been able to regain his former success. Second, Anthony Starr, who plays Homelander in The Boys, damaged his public image after being arrested in Spain for assaulting a young man in a bar. Although he paid bail and avoided jail time, the incident tarnished his reputation. Third, Steven Seagal was a major action star in the 1990s, but his career collapsed due to his arrogant behavior and multiple allegations of harassment. These scandals destroyed his reputation in Hollywood and pushed studios away. Finally, Tobey Maguire, best known for playing Spider-Man, almost lost the role because of reports that he was difficult to work with. Despite the trilogy's success. His on-set behavior and lack of major roles afterward caused his career to cool down. Photos taken moments before tragedy. First, a man took this photo of his wife and 4-year-old daughter before they boarded a flight for their dream vacation to Bali. What no one imagined was that this would be their last picture together. The plane was shot down by Russian forces while flying over Ukraine, and everyone on board lost their lives. Second, Mirka Kotova was celebrating her 30th birthday on a boat trip with friends. In this photo, everyone is smiling and having fun. But 30 minutes later, the boat mysteriously exploded. The most shocking part is that the young boy seen in the picture was the only survivor. Third, in 1954, a Los Angeles Times photographer heard screams coming from the beach and ran with his camera. There, he found a couple hugging and staring at the sea. Their 19-month-old son had vanished into the water. The image became a haunting portrait of loss and despair. Fourth, this is the last known photo of legendary musician John Lennon. In it, he's seen signing an autograph for the very man who, just hours later, would take his life at point-blank range, shocking the entire world. Actors who were never the same after a role. First, Jim Carrey became so immersed in playing Andy Kaufman in Man on the Moon that he completely lost his sense of self. After filming, he admitted that he no longer remembered who he was before and went through a deep depression. Second, Bill Skarsgård dove so deeply into the role of Pennywise in It that he began having dreams and obsessive thoughts about the clown even after filming ended. Third, James Cromwell was completely transformed after Babe. He became vegan, adopted several animals, and turned into a radical animal rights activist, even getting arrested during protests. Fourth, Michael B. Jordan revealed that he needed therapy after portraying Killmonger in Black Panther, as the villain left him emotionally shaken, filled with intense feelings of anger and sadness. Fifth, Anne Hathaway went through an intense transformation for Les Miserables. She shaved her head, lost 25 pounds without medical supervision, and completely isolated herself, even asking her husband to move out temporarily. Though she won an Oscar for the role, she later struggled with depression and anxiety. Children who made incredible discoveries. First, in 2010, a 3-year-old boy decided to play with his father's metal detector. What was supposed to be just a fun game turned into a historic discovery. He found a 16th century gold pendant valued at around 20 million reais back in 1995. Second, a 5-year-old girl was playing in a park with a simple plastic shovel when she suddenly hit something very hard in the ground. After digging a little deeper, she realized she had found a 160-million-year-old marine fossil. The fossil weighed about 60 kilograms and was completely preserved, the first specimen of its kind ever found in the United Kingdom. Third, in 2017, a 9-year-old boy was playing hide-and-seek when he tripped over something solid in his backyard. To everyone's surprise, it turned out to be an intact fossil of a stegomastodon, a creature that lived more than 1 million years ago. Fourth, in 2018, an 8-year-old girl in Sweden dove into a lake to pick up a stone, but ended up pulling out a 1,500-year-old Viking sword. Since then, she has been affectionately nicknamed the Queen of Sweden. Animals painted by nature. First, check out this little dog who was born with Mickey Mouse's head drawn on his back. It almost looks like a work of art. Second, look at this horse. Its fur forms the face of a girl, as if it came straight out of a magazine. Third, and this kitten? He knows very well that he has the most unique eyebrows in the world. Fourth, this cat looks surprised all the time, but it's just the pattern of its fur giving that impression. Fifth, this little cow is pure love. It has a heart on its forehead and another on its tail. Sixth, this turtle has something curious. The letters A, C, B, C marked on its shell. Maybe it was a fan of a band in another life. Seventh, and this one was born with the lucky number 7 right on its face. Looks like nature decided to play a trick on it. What would you name this lucky one? Eighth, this kitten has a perfect heart in its fur. Impossible not to melt for it. Ninth, and this one seems constantly disappointed, all because of its natural eyebrows. 10th, on this horse you can clearly see the shape of an angelfish. Nature really went all out. The most impressive discoveries in history. First, a group of men taking a lunch break in the mountains of Norway noticed something unusual on the ground. When they got closer, they realized it was an old rusty sword. At first, they thought it was just scrap metal, but soon discovered it was an authentic Viking sword over 1,100 years old. Second, in 2013, an ancient library was found containing 84,000 secret manuscripts, some dating back more than 1,000 years. They were stored on massive shelves, about 60 meters long and 10 meters high, inside the Sakya Monastery in Tibet. Third, after 13 years of excavations, a group of archaeologists finally managed to bring to light a gigantic Egyptian statue that had been submerged underwater. The investigation began in 2001, when a researcher started studying a lost city beneath the sea. By 2013, the team had successfully raised the colossal sculpture, which was over 1,200 years old. Fourth, researchers in Germany discovered a bronze sword in perfect condition, preserved for more than 3,000 years inside an ancient tomb. The worst design fails in the world. First, the lid of this coffee cup looks, and even feels, like you're kissing someone every time you take a sip. And honestly, who would dare to wear these chicken leg patterned socks? Second, they decided to replace the carpet on these stairs, but the result was disastrous. Now it's impossible to tell one step from another, and accidents have already happened because of it. Third, here we have one of the ugliest shoes ever made, and the most impressive part is that someone actually bought them. Fourth, this girl went to the bathroom looking for a bit of privacy, but ended up being watched by 4 faces staring right at her. Not awkward at all, right? Fifth, whose brilliant idea was it to install a basketball hoop right under a glass window? That's just asking for trouble. Sixth, this golden and glamorous toilet requires the user to keep their legs wide open to use it. Comfort level, 0. Seventh, these shoes were designed with grooves that collect tiny rocks. By the time you get home, you've gathered enough stones to build a wall. But what about you? Had you ever seen any of these things? Photos you'll have to look at twice to understand. First, many people think it's impossible for this man to fit inside a backpack, but it's just an optical illusion. He's standing behind the girl's oversized backpack, and his legs are hidden by a small bush, creating the perfect visual trick. Second, this one made me laugh out loud. Elmo's smiling for the photo, and right behind him, a boy with a look of pure jealousy because his friend got a picture with Woody. Drama even among the characters. Third, and looking at this photo, what do you notice that's different about it? If you look carefully and take your time, you'll see that there's a tram passing by at that moment, and the photographer captured the shot at the exact time it lined up perfectly with the building behind it, creating an incredible illusion. Fourth, these parents were taking a photo of their daughter near the dolphin aquarium, but to everyone's surprise, a dolphin tried to grab her with its mouth. Luckily, there's glass between them. Fifth, and to close, this dog was photographed right in the middle of doing number 2, and the owner still thought it was a great time to take a picture. A shot that turned out perfect, or maybe not. The funniest Photoshop fails you'll ever see. First, this boy tried to make himself look more muscular in a selfie, but he went so overboard with the edits that the result became pure meme material. Second, a family hired a professional to retouch their pictures, but the result was so bad that you could barely recognize their faces. Third, this woman ended up with an enormous head in a photo edit that looked more like a cartoon character than a real person. Fourth, another guy had the same idea, but somehow made it worse. His body turned out so distorted, it defied the laws of anatomy. Fifth, in an ad for a cat backpack, the kitty looked more like a dog with a badly pasted hat. Sixth, a man wanted to show off his new car, but the edit was so fake it looked like he had been copied and pasted into the picture. Seventh, a girl tried to look rich by posting photos in a private jet, but the bad cutout and fake background completely exposed the lie. Eighth, a celebrity photo edit went wrong when an extra hand mysteriously appeared, leaving everyone wondering who it belonged to. Photos taken at the perfect moment. First, imagine this girl's bad luck. She was riding her bike when the wheel got stuck in a drain and she went flying, right as someone captured the exact moment of the fall. Second, it may look like this kitten has a Bluetooth paw, but it's actually just a small twig he's holding. The angle of the photo creates the illusion. Third, someone managed to capture the exact moment when the clouds formed the shape of Godzilla. The sunlight and shadows created such a realistic illusion that it looked like the monster was emerging in the sky. Fourth, a man decided to propose to his girlfriend at a zoo, and the best part is that a very curious spectator ended up appearing in the photo, watching everything up close. Fifth, at first glance, this picture is confusing. It looks like a baby has its hand sticking out of the belly, but it's just a perfect perspective trick caught at the right moment. Sixth, in another photo, this horse appears to have horns, and as far as I know, Horses don't have horns, but it's actually just the angle and a horn-shaped decoration in the background that create the illusion of a unicorn.